Well, there is the New Zealand team from Perpignan. We seem to be having some problem with the sound again. This happened to us during the first test. The sound was a fraction late in getting to New Zealand, but this is obviously the New Zealand team during the playing of the national anthem at Perpignan. On this, the occasion of their last tour match.
Moi, ça va pour moi. Ça va toi? Tu m'entends là?
C'est quoi? Ah ouais, c'est bon, c'est bon.
So there it is, the pre-match ceremony involving the New Zealand and French Rugby League team from the Gilbert Brutus Stadium in Perpignan in the southeast of France. And there's the Kiwi team with a lot of talking in the during the national anthem from Fred Arcoy back in the New Zealand team. And we still have no international sound from TV New Zealand's commentator Tony Palmer, but he'll be with us hopefully very soon, along with the new member of the New Zealand team, Howie Tamati. In the meantime, we'll just more or less watch the game in general form from the studio. We can tell you that the French team is Serge Payet, Auguste Retier, Denis Berge, Rogue Palisse, Didier Guston, Dominique Espunga, Bruno Gauche, Max Chantal, Thierry Bernab, Serge Titieux, Pierre Montgaillard, Marc Palanque, Guy Laforge, the captain, is the other player. And there's the New Zealand team. And there is the French team. And there it is, The French words for rugby league, rugby à la 13, rugby à 13 it's called, and coup de monde, of course, it means it's a World Cup match. And this is in keeping with the last match of a test series, be it a 2-test or a 3-test series, counting for World Cup points. Now remember, the New Zealand team scored a win over Australia in the third test at Carlo Park this year, so they have maximum points from that match. They have a draw against Great Britain in the third test, so they have 3 points for the World Cup. So this match will see perhaps New Zealand go to 5 points in the coup de monde, the World Cup for rugby league, and this series will last for several years. So, moments before kick-off, the New Zealand and French teams lining out for the second test in Perpignan.
Le coup d'envoi a été donné. Carlos, je disais donc que c'était un match pas tout à fait comme les autres.
Non, car la Coupe du Monde, c'est quelque chose de très important pour les joueurs, et notamment pour les Australiens et les Néo-Zélandais, qui comptent bien la remporter, mais nous sommes là aussi, et il faudra compter avec la Grande-Bretagne.
L'équipe de France, arrière Payares, aux ailes Ratier Couston, au centre Berger-Palis, en demi Gouache qui fait sa rentrée. Espunier à l'ouverture, Laforgue bien entendu capitaine, seconde ligne Palanque Mongaillard, en première ligne Titeux, Bernabé.
Well, I think you can see the problem that we're having here at New Zealand. The French television system has put the French commentary through to New Zealand, so in the meantime you can sit back and enjoy, but there's the action for you, minus English commentary at the moment.
Le pressing français en défense qui se fait déjà sentir.
Le pressing français, en effet, aujourd'hui, 3 jeunes joueurs font leur entrée au sein du Club France. Denis Berger du Pontet, 24 ans. Il joue d'habitude ouverture, mais ici, il jouera centre. C'est le meilleur marqueur du championnat. Ensuite, il y aura Thierry Barnabé au talonnage, que l'on voit à l'œuvre d'ailleurs. Et puis Bruno Gouache, 25 ans, 1m72, 70 kg, qui a la lourde responsabilité de prendre la succession d'Ivan Gresek.
Et les Français qui ont très bien attaqué le match, puisqu'ils font un très bon pressing défensif, c'est ce qu'on attendait d'eux. Ils sont en train de s'imposer en ce début de match. Maintenant, nous allons voir comment vont réagir les Néo-Zélandais.
Alors, dégagement de l'arrière, Gary Campbell. Serge Payares réceptionne parfaitement. Je rappelle que les Français sont en blanc. Ils ont à rattraper, bien entendu, une lourde défaite, 22-0 à Marseille. Mais aujourd'hui, je vous le répète, c'est un match qui compte double, puisqu'il s'agit d'une rencontre comptant pour la Coupe du Monde. Cette Coupe du Monde où les Néo-Zélandais sont d'ailleurs premiers et invaincus, avec une large victoire pour leur premier match en Australie, 18-0, s'il vous plaît, face à l'Australie, pardon. Et pour leur second match, eh bien, les Kiwis, puisqu'on les surnomme ainsi, sont allés faire un match nul en Grande-Bretagne, 6 partout.
Les Français qui ont bien débuté en défense, mais qui malheureusement dans leur attaque ont été malheureux, puisqu'ils ont perdu un ballon par Max Chantal, ce qui fait que depuis le début du match, la France ne fait que défendre. Maintenant, comme nous le voyons sur ce plaquage percutant de Philippe Aina, peut-être que ce sera la solution de la rencontre.
Monsieur Campbell vient de siffler une pénalité, un coup franc pour la Nouvelle-Zélande, relativement bien placée puisqu'elle est pratiquement 35 mètres face au poteau.
Oui, monsieur l'arbitre qui vient de sanctionner les Français puisqu'ils ont arraché le ballon à Philippe Aina sur le plaquage à plusieurs, ce qui est formellement interdit.
Olsen, Philippe Aina, un sacré gaillard qui remplace aujourd'hui Shane Cooper. Il retrouve sa place de titulaire. C'est un garçon qui fait 1m80 pour 95 kg. C'est un beau gaillard qui peut jouer aussi bien de seconde ligne que troisième ligne. Aujourd'hui, il joue à l'ouverture, c'est son poste de prédilection. Il a été le héros du match face à l'Australie.
C'est un très bon buteur. Habituellement, il a un très bon pourcentage de réussite.
Le public catalan siffle Philippe Aina. Mais il en a vu d'autres sûrement.
Un public qui est venu très nombreux puisque Dreyfus est plein aujourd'hui.
La balle s'élève mais passe à côté.
All right, this is the pictures coming through from Perpignan, and there's Olsen Philippine has missed the kick, so it's still 0-0 after about 4 minutes of the first half. And just reminding you that shortly we'll have Tony Palmer down a line which is not very good quality. That's the problem, and so we'll have Tony Palmer and Howie Tamati's commentary for you in just a moment.
Mais leur entraîneur nous a certifié qu'il n'en avait cure car les remplaçants sont d'excellente qualité.
Un très bon dégagement de Denis Berger pour ses débuts internationaux, puisque nous avons gagné 50 mètres et que nous jouons dans le camp néo-zélandais.
Aujourd'hui, tactique principale des Français, faire tomber les Kiwis, car ceux-ci sont très forts, ballon en main, debout. Et pour le moment, les Français appliquent parfaitement la tactique demandée par Tas Baiteri, l'entraîneur.
Les Néo-Zélandais qui varient très bien leur jeu, puisqu'ils mettent, après avoir fixé les avants, ils ont mis leur deuxième ligne McCann dans les trois quarts.
Alors ici, c'est Den Sorensen qui vient d'être plaqué par Palanque.
Referee's ruled he knocked it on.
Yes, ruled it off. 50-50 there, I thought.
Didn't appear to me as if he'd knocked it on. Certainly it seemed to be travelling backwards.
That's right. Well, we'll take it, Tony.
So New Zealand ball to scrum. Clayton Friend waiting till that scrum straightens up. French team rather adept at screwing it around. And Clayton Friend penalised for feeding his own side.
Yeah. He's got to try out the referee pretty early to see what he can get away with. Good place to do it too, down there.
A little bit of gamesmanship. Sorensen's been around too long to be terribly worried by something like that. Certainly won't put him off his game. Gary Kemble for the line. And it takes the Kiwis well up inside the French 22 again. Another planned move coming.
French's 10 yards is non-existent.
The right, Friend. Loose ball. Ulawai coming through very, very quickly and just ran a hip. Out on the full.
As long as the boys don't get sucked into playing that type of game, they just keep playing football and they should go all right.
Clayton Friend diving over the top.
Penalised. Clayton not retiring.
Seemed that the ball was out when he did come through.
The rule is you put the ball in, you must retire.
So the Frenchman once again up inside the New Zealand half by a couple of metres. T2. Tackled high and low by Owen Wright and Wayne Wallace. Trying a little double round. Certainly France look as though they're prepared to throw the ball around. Dane Sorensen picking up the loose ball. Kiwi possession. Kurt Sorensen. Friend. Filipina. Team Bell.
The team's been in tremendous form this tour. Every game consistently well.
Oh, Hugh McGann getting through half the gap and almost getting away. Dane Sorensen. Friend. O'Regan. Luluai. Puts it back to O'Regan. O'Regan having a go himself. Hasn't got the support with him. Caught. Sorensen. Friend. Right. Owen Wright not making a lot of headway. O'Hara. Friend. Who's under that? Dane Sorensen knocking it back, was picked up by Bernabe, and the French in possession inside their 22.
Still doesn't seem to be much organisation in this French team.
Seems they're prepared to change the direction of it and flick it around anywhere that will work, but not a lot is working for them thus far. Not making a lot of progress with their 6 tackles.
They're not setting it up properly.
Kemble, safe again. Bell. Team Bell. And takes play right back almost to the French 22. Filipina. Little chip through, chasing it, but tripped. And the penalty.
I think also played to them for that one.
So a chance for another 2 points now for Olsen Filipina. And a relatively kickable one for him this time. Already the whistling and hissing starts. Olsen Filipina, a very precise and deliberate kicker, and makes sure that the steps are all precisely right when he runs in. That's the 1-2. Flags are up. New Zealand on the board, 2-0. And if you're wondering why we sound a little thin and reedy in this part of the world, it's because we are having some technical problems with the sound in reaching you. I hope you'll bear with us, and we will try, if we can, to improve it. Clayton Friend, Team Bell. Hitting Laforgue head on and being pushed back. Ball coming loose. Play on, says the referee. Friend flicks it out to Kurt Sorensen, ranging way out on the wing. Free again. Filipina. McGann. Sorensen. Seems that Dane Sorensen may have become a little more determined after that knock as well. Kemble for the line. Finding touch and taking the Kiwis again well up into the French half. Filipina. Scored on a head high by Jerry Bernabe. But it's not as if it's the first time that Jerry Bernabe has come in with similar tactics. Friend.
Good run. Yeah, Wayne knocked the ball on. It was a good attempt, though. Kiwis giving them a little bit of their own back. Crowd not too happy about it. There he is.
Campbell running it back. Well held, and referee Ron Campbell coming over to make sure that Lafort got off to allow him to play the ball. Kurt Sorensen flicks it back. James Sorensen. Straight to T2. Bernabe coming through, can't hold it. Wayne Wallace picks it up. Dean Bell has it. Bell making the break by himself. Going up and right. Good tackle on Dean Bell from Fayere, the fullback. Dane O'Hara. A lot of unconventional play in this match so far. Certainly nothing going to plan for either side at the moment. Right. Pass to Friend.
They've got to sit down a little bit.
Through the way. Friend. Running the bracket here. Clayton Friend gets the pass out to Hugh McGann, and Hugh McGann will score.
Good try.
First try of the match to Hugh McGann for New Zealand. 6-0.
Play was getting pretty sloppy out there. I was a bit worried that things would start to come apart, but in the end they made the break. It was good.
And a relatively kickable one for Olsen Filipina. Stand boy today is Glenn Gibb. Looking at that try again. Hugh McGann running over, being put in virtually unmarked by Clayton Friend. Running it around until the French defence was really split. And all at 6s and 7s, and the holes just opened up out wide. So Olsen Filipino with a chance now to make it 8. That's away to the left, so the score remains at 6-0. New Zealand leading France.
So that was good, that try, continuously moving the ball around. Just completely disorganised the French defence.
Seemed there immediately prior to it that both sides were very disorganised and that New Zealand were able to regroup and make advantage far more quickly than the French have been able to.
Yeah, that's right. I was a bit worried that we were getting, too disorganised. And rather than have that, we should have settled it up a bit, But the break came, so points on the board.
Right.
Yeah, Owen's doing the right thing, just rather than settling up, pushing them back.
O'Regan.
Yeah, that's all right. Good run, Ronnie.
Starting now to make a lot more impression than New Zealand side. He's running straight. Something that they didn't do a lot of in the first test at Marseille. Olsen Filipino keeping it in the middle.
This number 10 of the French has got a habit of bringing his elbow down on the head.
Kurt Sorensen busting the first tackle as a halfback. Caught in the second of Mongaillard. Friend. Clayton Friend a couple of times has had a look for the little gap that's there and wrong-footed the defence.
Yeah, you can't give Clayton an inch.
O'Regan. Chip for the sideline, but out on the full.
Olsen's got a bit of a bump in the background there.
Certainly a few of the New Zealand side have taken knocks. Some of them accidental, some of them far from accidental. French ball. Rapier coming through, couldn't hold it.
Yeah, very lucky there.
Would have been a very dangerous break. O'Regan tidies it up. O'Hara making sure he has the arm up, covering his head as he went into the tackle. Wise move. Fred, right. Looking to feed the ball back. Wayne Wallace takes it off him. And Wallace straight into the tackle. Hugh McGann waiting. Arcoy to Kurt Sorensen, couldn't hold it, knocked it on, and then French defence coming through knocked it on. Scrum goes down just outside the French 22. New Zealand leading 6-0. Penalty to Olsen Filipino, the try to Hugh McGann. Well hooked. The fork coming off the back. Wash passing it back, and the French try to set something up now again down the middle. Still a fair amount of aggro in the tackle. Berabi. There's Punya flicking it out, try to set something out with C2. C2 caught. Palanque. One of a new breed of French players along with Mongaillard. Mongaillard and Palanque, the second row, is both big and tall and mobile. The ball will try to get a pass away. Certainly no love lost at this stage.
Don't do anybody any favours in fifth,
one goes down midway 22 and halfway in Kiwi territory. Clayton Friend waiting for the scrum to come round straight again. One place he doesn't want a penalty. A wrong feed. Ball comes out. Filipina.
The French are up miles offside.
Have been for most of the half. Arcoy. Dane Sorensen driving it up as ever. Friend. Kurt Sorensen. Pass straight to Palang. Kiwis are going to need to be tough on the tackling here. Needs to be tight. That O'Hara catching Rapier and penalised. Not allowing him to play the ball.
A bit harsh, I thought. The guy was left him out.
Looked to me as though he was simply making sure of the tackle.
Right. He's up and away.
Considering the amount of time that it's taken for the Frenchmen to release the Kiwis in the tackles, it would seem like a harsh judgment. So the ball goes out right on the 22 in Kiwi territory. Chance for France to attack.
Pressure from France.
Wash. Chantal. Gouache. Espunia. Gouache. T2. One of the more effective forwards in the first test.
Puts back the blind.
Quick hand. Almost giving them a gap. The Kiwi defence waiting. Bernabe slipping out of the first tackle. Espunia coming through. Great speed. Running onto the ball. And up on the 22 again. Palang. Going left. Espunia flicking it through. The new man in the centre is for France, Thierry Bernabe. Wash. Espunia. Kurt Sorensen picks up the ball. Play on, says the referee.
Yeah, we just got to settle it down here. Just settle it down here. Drive in a couple. Get things sorted out. Yeah, Dane will do it.
Seems rather ridiculous the amount of time that the Frenchmen are keeping the Kiwis down in the tackle.
Yeah, well, I think that was a good. That's the kind of thing that was happening over in England. The Englishmen were lying all over us, and when we were making the tackles, we were getting up quickly. You know, we should perhaps start practicing trying to slowly play the balls down. Because that's what happened just then. We were letting the French up too early.
Seems to be working effectively for France.
Well, referees let them get away with it. Penalised that.
Wayne Wallace penalised for striking. Berger for the line. Wash, Espunia, C2. Kurt Sorensen on his back and managing to bring him to ground. Chantal to Palang. Held by the Sorensen brothers.
Yes. James Sorensen's tremendous tackler. For a big man, he always goes low. Very well. Here's an example of it.
Lapierre almost away and caught again by Dane Sorensen. Penalty to France for an offence in the tackle on Lapierre. Mark Palank is injured, but he's up and seems to be okay again.
Yeah, starting to feel the knocks now.
It's been a very, very torrid first half. It'll be a Spunya with the shot. One of the bright young stars of French Rugby League, Dominique Spunya. He's 19 years old from the Lézinon club, and certainly, despite his job being made very hard, I thought, by Gresek, the halfback, in the first test, I thought he was outstanding.
Well, he had a couple of really good runs in the first half of the test when France was still competing, and he looks a really good player. Got a lot of pace. Can't kick though.
Away to the left, picked up by Hugh McGann. Wayne Wallace. Crowd loving these tackles. Dane Sorensen, as ever, doing the donkey work and driving it up. Right. The kick through. Again chasing it. Referee ruled a knock on.
Oh, I'd say it was a knock on. We'll take it, Tony.
The crowd didn't like it. Certainly, Houston didn't like it either.
I think maybe it'd been better if he stopped it with his foot.
Friend sees the scrum. Ball coming back the Kiwis' way. Friend having a little dab, but well caught by Gouache, his opposite number today, doing a far more effective job than did Gresek. O'Regan, Luluai. McGann. Wallace, Friend, O'Regan, right. Still managing to get the ball up to Luluai. Luluai caught. That's taken them right up almost to the French 22. O'Regan. Arcoy can't hold it. Dean Bell brings it back. Busting out of another dubious-looking head-high tackle. Oops. Not a good kick from Sorensen. Picked up by Palang. Bernabe to Mongayar. Spunya, little double round. Good police. The French still trying to move the ball. Berger. Wayne Wallace back there to tackle.
Good cover by Wayne.
They certainly look effective when they start moving it. Getting a little bit more organisation in the way they're doing things now, Brown. Kick through, and is that going to find the line? Yes. Just about half a metre short. The best attacking opportunity France have had.
Well, early on in the game, they were all bunched up, and now they've started to spread out and starting to move the ball a bit better. Starting to make a bit of yardage. They drove the ball a lot better as well. Set it up better.
Not coming out of there, so the scrum will go down again. Still some trouble getting these front rows down. Considering the one Clayton was penalised for before, he might have been lucky to get away with that. There's a little bit of a let-off for the Kiwis. McGann waiting. O'Regan.
Good run.
Running it straight. Nice pass up to Luluai, but Luluai had overrun it. and they've lost possession as a result. Espuña, Palank, going back inside. Still getting the ball away. Espuña again. The form. Straight to Hugh McGann. Been an awful lot of loose ball for a test match.
Yeah, trying to throw the ball around.
Dane Sorensen. McGann. Bruno Guash is being called out by referee Ron Campbell. Spoken to for using his knee in the tackle. Campbell for the line. Right on the French 22. Filipino with the ball. Another planned move from the Kiwis. Kurt Sorensen comes out with it this time. Campbell. Wallace.
Good run from Damian.
Friend. Harcoy giving it to Dean Bell. Kurt Sorensen gets the pass back. O'Regan.
Ronnie's having a good, strong game. Taking the ball up hard.
Filipina.
Trouble.
Wayne Wallace. Just a metre short of the line now, and they've lost possession. Losing the ball in the tackle. And France with a chance to let themselves off the hook. Laforgue. Running out of tackles and not making a lot of ground, so they put the kick in. Dane O'Hara's under that, and he'll run it back up. O'Regan to Luluwai. Bell. Dean Bell pushing off the winger and just running around him and making a good 15 metres. O'Regan, Friend. Harcoy to right, to McGann. Filipina going back inside, back to McGann, picking it up off his bootlaces. Hugh McGann spinning and turning and reaches the line. Good try.
Excellent
the second
try.
one in the game for Hugh McGann.
One side of the field to the other.
Almost in the same position as the first try he scored in the game, Hugh McGann. And that makes 12 test tries for Hugh McGann in 13 tests.
Moved the ball beautifully there.
Looking at it again, Alton Filipina about to put the pass out, decides to go back inside, fooled the opposition totally, went right around Palank, flicks it over the top, and have a look at how Hugh McGann picks up this ball.
He's got good
Almost
hands.
on the ground.
He's got good hands as Huey.
Beautifully done.
Yeah.
Spinning around, evading the tackles, and reaching the line. Good try in Hugh McGann, and absolutely true Hugh McGann style.
Yes.
So Alton Filipina attempting the extra point. And that's away to the right. So the score remains at 10. Half time almost up in this game. Kiwis still dominating when they get things organised. They've managed to contain the best of the French offensives. Ron O'Regan running it back. 10-0, the Kiwis leading France. Dean Bell. Dane Sorensen. Bell still keeping it with ball alive with quick hands. Kurt Sorensen eventually in the tackle. Kiwis keeping it moving. Friend, O'Regan, Luluai. Kick. Payare, well picked up. Running it back. Dane O'Hara and Ron O'Regan have him.
Reminding you that the temperature there is considerably warmer. Obviously it's nearer to the Mediterranean coast, and temperatures up to about 12 and 13 degrees, whereas of course the Kiwis struck 0 and 0 minus temperatures in Paris just a fortnight ago. It seems our sound circuit is restored to Tony Palmer, so let's go back now for the second half to Tony Palmer and Howie Tamati in Perpignan.
A restart by Gary Kemble. The Kiwis leading by 10-0 over France after a very, very ordinary first half in a game that has really looked most disorganised. Certainly not attractive football. The Frenchmen really only achieving anything from broken play and from opportunism.
Yeah, they look very disorganised.
The break. It's Cunha. Dean Bell has him. Shoulder charge, which he's got away with. Dominique Cunha, one of the more exciting players in the French team.
That should be the last time that little fella runs for a while.
Wags to restart. Chantal. Tackled low by Wayne Wallace. Cunha not looking, still manages to hold the ball. Palanque. Berger. Mongaya. Belarcoy up on him very quickly, allowing them no space. Police. Gary Kemble coming out with the ball. Luluai. Dane O'Hara down the wing, pushing off one tackler. Still the fullback to beat and taken by Payare. Filipina.
Golly had to go in by himself.
O'Regan, Kurt Sorensen. Looking for space to set something up. Arcoy running up off him, but decides to take the tackle. Right. Trying to get the ball away, but held by Berger. Holding his elbow so he couldn't pass the ball. McGann. Luluai. McGann, Friend. Evading C2's head high. O'Hara.
Hand over.
Caught in the sixth tackle, handing over to the opposition. Trying now to contain France within their 22. Loose ball in the tackle. Kiwi ball. Ron O'Regan disputing possession, being allowed it. Right. Arcoy. Owen Wright waiting. McGann. Wallace. Pass looked almost forward. Right up on the French 22 now. Friend. Having a little dab himself, Clayton Friend, almost getting away with it. Finally caught. 3 or 4 times in the game when he's had a little dab himself, he's found some space. Right, still gets the pass back. Dane Sorensen. Steve McGann not able to hold it, bouncing off his leg.
Under a lot of pressure now, the French. They won't want to stay here too long.
One or two of them seem to be wilting just a little, like Thierry Bernabé is one in particular who put in a lot of physical stuff in the first half, but it seems to be tiring.
Yeah.
Gets through from Berger, caught by Dean Bell. Bell running it up himself, having a go, almost at the line. Quarter metre short. Plays it, Kurt Sorensen. Filipina. Settling things down now. The Kiwis trying to mount an attack. Friend. Sorensen still gets the pass up.
This referee doesn't believe it's 5 metres. Especially with the guys wearing white jerseys.
Seems to have been fairly lax. Wayne Wallace trying to push his way over.
Hand over. 6 seconds.
I think that's 5.
Hand over.
Hand over. The second time. 3 or 4 minutes in the second half. Really is a very untidy match for a test match. It's almost as if the Kiwis don't really know how to make it work, and the Frenchmen certainly haven't got the faintest idea how to organise things.
Yeah. They're trying to do too much too soon, you know. I think you should set it, like I said before, just trying to settle up a little bit more. Just set it up properly.
Campbell. Bell. Bell having a go inside, but didn't see Mongear behind him. Sorensen. O'Regan. Sorensen. O'Regan. Having a very solid game, Rod O'Regan. Doing sensible things.
At the moment we've got both centres in there. We can't really go anywhere. Can't move the ball wide.
Bomb from Arcoy. Again up there and waiting for it. Loose ball picked up by Owen Wright. Pass back to Filipina. And once again a set up for the Kiwis. Friend. Sorensen. Back into Dean Bell. Bell is through the opposition and will score. Can he reach the line?
There's the double movement there.
Penalised for the double movement. The pass, in fact, looked forward previous to it.
Forward.
Considering some of the double movements that have gained them tries on the tour, it was certainly worth a try. Forward. Cunha. Elise, but making no progress. French team not really making a lot of headway in their allotted tackles each time. Punya chips through. O'Hara's going back for it. Picks it up.
Good run by Dane. Try to bring it up.
Kurt Sorensen. Arcoy. Kurt Sorensen again. He'll get the pass back. Friend. McGann. A little bit of a battle between Max Chantal and Clayton Friend.
Yeah, Clayton picking on the big guys again.
Seems Clayton Friend has taken a knock, which may have been the motivation for the anger.
Oh, I'm sure of it.
Certainly never been afraid of bigger fellows.
Oh, no. At the heart of the line is Clayton. Probably his problem. He won't get counted. He just keeps going.
Berger for the line. Kiwis back now. 12 metres out from their 22. Squash. Little double round with this Punya. Mongaya. LaForbe.
Good defense for the Kiwis.
They've gained no territory at all. Punya. Felice. Jumps out. Up inside the 22 now. It's Punya. Squash. Palanque running through, but the pass didn't come for him. Certainly starting to look a little more like an organised side now, France. T2. Squash. It's Punya. Over the top. Friend kicking it through, loose ball, and picked up by Hugh McGann. So some respite for the Kiwis. Hugh McGann is injured.
Yeah, we were waiting on him there.
Trying to see what the injury is to Hugh McGann as Glenn Gallagher comes to administer some cold water and ice.
Yeah, there was some doubt on Huey yesterday, whether he'd play or not.
Certainly has the knee and hamstring very heavily strapped. There was some doubt as late as yesterday, as you say, Howie, as to whether or not he could play.
But I think it's just kind of give the boys a bit of a breather, take a bit of pressure off.
The up and okay. Dane Sorensen. Wallace. Kurt Sorensen. Arcoy.
Here's that number 10.
He and Bernabe appear to be their hitmen.
The ordinary player that's the 10 up there.
Now, midway, halfway in 22 in French territory. Friend. Having a little dab himself, Clayton Friend finds the gap. Sorensen inside him. Kurt Sorensen puts up a pass to James Zulaway, but it certainly looked forward.
the Englishman remembers hitting there. Definitely was going to give us that one.
Of course, if you've been following the series, you'd be aware of the amount of talk there has been of forward passes, but that one looked blatantly forward. Fogg. On their 22 now, France.
They play the ball there.
Washes past a bad one.
All steps in the bad play the ball. If you play the ball badly, you don't give your dummy half a chance. That was one of my pet hates.
Scrum goes down 2 metres inside the French 22. Clayton Friend speed. New Zealand ball, Arcoy. Well wrapped up by Guy Lefog. Filipina. Friend. Trying to do a little double round with Wayne Wallace. Didn't come off. The ball goes loose and Ronald Regan dives on it.
Very lucky there. Lucky to get the ball back there.
Wallace.
Thanks, ball.
Loose ball again, this time capitalised on by France.
Trying to do too much again.
Coming up and wanting to get into the play. He's seen very little of the ball. Loose ball again. They'll come back for the first knock-off.
This is called play on. Change rule in there.
Ron Campbell standing a long way away from the play. Bernabe. Starting to look very tired in this half.
Second run.
There's with the kick through. Campbell under it and safe. Bread and butter to him. Running it back. Gary Campbell showing a burst of speed. Looking around for someone to pass it to. The port up, not up with him. Arcoy and Filipina running through, but not quickly enough.
Really good run there, Gary.
Friend. O'Regan. The chip up, being chased by Wayne Wallace. Overruns it. Hugh McGann dives on the ball and keeps possession for the Kiwis.
Wayne was there, unlucky there. Maybe one more yard and he'd had it on the full.
O'Hara. 3 metres short. Dane Sorensen. Big line up out to the right. The Kiwis standing very deep. Friend. Caught by Bayere as he got the ball. O'Regan again with the bomb. Again underneath it. Can't hold it that time. Regains it over the line, but
Ruled offside. Ruled Huey offside.
Hugh McGann has made that a specialty in his game, getting up under the high ball, but he's not had a lot of luck in the series. Mark Elia on the paddock. Try to see who it is the top. James Luluai, I think, that's come off. Check that in just a moment. Yes, James Luluai has come off and Mark Elia is on. Mongear can't hold the ball as he comes through. Just looking at the way this lineup is going to be organised now for the Kiwis.
Mark moves to the wing. Demon's gone into the centre. It's Fred. Something must be pretty wrong with James for him to go up the field. He's very tough. Very tough guy.
In fact, didn't see James Luluai get injured at all.
No, I just see.
Berger. Palan. Forward reserve today, by the way, is Brent Todd from the Hornby Club in Christchurch. He turned 21 yesterday, and if he comes on the paddock, will make his first debut. Mark Elia, of course, has played in tests before. One test.
Mark's been playing tremendous football the last few weeks.
And the leading try scorer on the tour so far with 12 tries. Hope he can make some mileage for himself today and get his first test try.
Boys are containing the French very well at the moment. It's going nowhere.
Very, very effective defensive net. The French, in the space of their 6 tackles, have just gone nowhere. Clayton Friend dropping a punch there for a little bit of a late charge. In fact, 3 subsequent Frenchmen had to go and try to punch him.
And he touched a lot of them.
None of them connected. O'Regan. Right. Friend. Dane Sorensen. Friend. Arcoy. Bell. Philip Elia.
No, they didn't give him much. Knock on. Off the ball in the tackle.
They were well on top of him when he actually took the ball.
Didn't give him any room at all. Hello. Pulled somebody out.
Well, we seem to have lost our sound commentary at this vital stage of this game here in Perpignan. So it looks like for the next few minutes, until we restore the line to Tony Palmer and Howie Tamatu, we might listen into Radio New Zealand's Alan McLaughlin. With him is Bill O'Callaghan of the New Zealand Kiwi team.
France will be gone. No way they'd come back into this game. New Zealand are in the box seat at the moment, 10-0, but they would really take it to the French if they scored one more try and converted that. Here's a chance for France. They kick inside their own quarter. Good kick too. But O'Hara's there in position. Kemble back there with him. These two Hull players, they combine so well. Got support. Kemble gets up to halfway. Ducks under the tackle of Palenque before he's knocked to the ground. O'Hara inside the French half by a couple of metres. Back to Mark Elia. Tries to step out of a tackle. Knocked over in centre field. 8 metres inside the French half. Wallace. Friend. O'Regan sells a dummy. Slips over. Stands up. Picked up by 4 French players and they knock him to the ground. 3 or 4 metres inside the French half. New Zealand leading 10-0.
Friend. Well, I think just about everybody on the paddock has had a go at Clayton Friend. Friend. Throwing the pass back. Arcoy picks it up. Filipina. Arcoy. 5 tackles on the Kiwis. Sorensen to Dean Bell, and Dean Bell through.
No try. No try. Not awarded it. Forward pass. Yeah, he's ordered forward pass.
Dean Bell putting the ball down over the line in very theatrical fashion, as if to say, what do I have to do to score a try? This really has not been one of the great games of rugby league. Tackle Clayton Friend on Espunia, stopping the movement. Mongea gets the ball back. Saliste. Filipina obviously starting to get a little frustrated too.
Yes, he's starting to get a little bit annoyed.
Takes a fair amount of aggro before he starts that sort of stuff.
I think one of the Frenchmen jumped on his arm before. Didn't like that too much.
Kiwi ball, Friend, Filipina. Friend, O'Regan, Bell, Wallace, McGann. McGann ducking under the first tackle, caught by the second. Wallace, Dane Sorensen. Right, O'Regan. Kurt Sorensen trying to bust through the middle, gets the ball free as he goes into the tackle. Clayton Friend couldn't hold it as he came through. The Frenchmen have been trapped right inside their 22 almost for a fair portion of the second half.
Yeah, hardly been out of it.
Punya with a little chip through. Picked up beautifully. Gary Kemble out there, racing down the wing. The ball comes back inside.
No, good for him to pull them back.
Well, the crowd doesn't like it. Obviously a very partisan crowd, and it certainly looked as though Roger Felice was going to score there. Open try line and 3 men.
He ruled him in front of the kick. Come from an offside position when that guy kicked the ball. Unlucky.
It's a very vocal and very disappointed crowd at the moment. Certainly it would have been greatly against the run of play, but an indication of just how dangerous the Frenchman can be from breakdown. The penalty's been awarded to the Kiwis, and Olsen Filipina's going to have a shot.
Crowd's getting a bit upset here.
We're sitting in the midst of an incredibly partisan crowd, and I might just keep my head down for a minute here.
Yeah, I think I might take my blazer and sit in inside out, okay? Just for a while. Could be a turning point in the game, really. If Olsen puts 2 points on them, they might just give up altogether, like they did in Marseille.
Filipina can't make that one, so the score remains at 10-0.
Thanks for bringing on the replacement.
French replacements are André Perez and Jean-Luc Rabot. Looking to see who it is that's coming on. Perez, André Perez. As Kemble runs it up. Perez has replaced Payare at fullback.
Because the referee doesn't lose control of the game.
Friend, Dane Sorensen.
I think Clayton's been having to do too much running himself. Been letting him get a lot of shots in him on him when he shouldn't have.
Regan, Kurt Sorensen. Good pass, Olsen Filipina. Filipina going back in to straighten it up. Regan, Friend, McGann, right. Elia, Friend, Arcoy. Straight into the 2 French second rowers. 5 tackles on the Kiwis.
You can tackle all day, but you still got to put points on the board.
Clayton Friend having a little dab, looking at the space that was there. Flicked the ball back to McGann, but he couldn't hold it. Scrum goes down, midway, try line and 22. The Frenchman again inside their 22, where they have spent most of the second half. Still excellent Kiwi defence.
Yeah. Oh, he's tough.
And O'Hara gets the ball back to Elia. Elia well caught. Kiwi's back on the French 22. Playing it himself. Right, Kurt Sorensen. Nice ball to Gary Kemble. As simple as that. Right between the posts. What a perfect ball from Kurt Sorensen.
Got a lot of strength there. second up for Gary. To the second.
And despite the fact that Gary Kemble is playing in his 15th test, that is his first test try.
Big shot tonight, eh?
And a relatively simple kick for Olsen Filipina, who's managed to get his own private sponsorship scheme going for the kicks at goal.
Yeah.
Not quite sure how many francs this one's worth, but it's quite a few.
He's on 5 francs a kick with my roommate. He gets a little bit of incentive for him.
Points are there, 16-0. The Kiwis leading France.
The referee's got an injury.
Looking at the way the try was set up, Kurt Sorensen going out wide and stretching things, but have a look at that pass to Kemble. Really, the try was made. Kemble had to finish it, and he went round between the posts and made the kick a lot easier for Olsen Filipina. But a perfect pass from Kurt Sorensen. Kind of thing we've come to expect from him. It's been the hallmark of his game now for a number of years. He's had a fairly quiet game. Kemble.
Yeah, it's been a very scrappy game, though.
O'Regan.
Ronnie's had a good, strong game. Moves the ball well. Taking it up. Jumping hard.
Right. McGann.
He's all the forward pass.
One of the combinations that we haven't really seen working today is the well-known to New Zealand viewers anyway, combination in the second row of Hugh McGann and Owen Wright.
Yeah.
Hasn't really had a chance to fire today in the way this game has been played. Perez. Keeler Fogg. French team finding a little bit of energy in the last moments of the game. T2.
Don't get away from Dean.
Didier Cusson. He really hasn't looked like matching Dean Bell. It's Punya. Palank. See what they can do with the kick. Will chip up. T2 underneath it. Caught by Arcoy. Still slips the ball away. And that really has been the story of this French test side. The first test at Marseille, the same thing. When given an opportunity and when given the line in sight, they really haven't been able to finish anything. Balls go astray. It seems that when they're under pressure, the outside backs just do not work. Certainly don't hold the ball.
Big spray of replacement. Chantal's off.
Max Chantal off and Jean-Luc Rabot on from the Villeneuve club. Sorensen. To Wallace to Friend. Filipina. Bell. Elia. Mark Elia.
Go, mate.
Oh, putting the pass back, and it goes to Berger. French team looking more energetic than they have the whole of the second half. T2. The Fogg. Picked up by Ron O'Regan. and Kiwi possession once again. Hugh McGann down again.
We do apologise for this very bad sound and picture quality now coming through from France. We assure you it's coming off the satellite from France, and we're doing what we can to rectify the situation.
While play continues.
Should be right. Body's on. Replacement's been made.
Just looking to see who's going off. Imagine it's Hugh McGann going back over and wanting to rejoin the pack, but Brent Todd is on the field.
Ronnie O'Regan's been replaced.
So Hugh McGann is going to continue. Ron O'Regan has gone off, and Brent Todd makes his test debut. The day after his 21st birthday. Looking like a player with an enormous future. A very late addition to the side. Replacement for Ross Taylor, who was injured the latter part of the English half of the tour. And since he's come here, Brent Todd has made an enormous impression. Been playing excellent football and really has earned his place on the Test reserve bench today.
He's a real typical South Island forward, real tough up the middle, rugged player, you know, really good.
Right. Kurt Sorensen still gets the pass back. Brent Todd first touch of the ball. Clayton Friend to Dane Sorensen. Friend again. Pass to Kurt Sorensen. Kurt Sorensen has the line in sight. Being signalled by Hugh McGann to put it as close as possible to underneath the post.
Really good break from Clayton Friend there. Stayed his place and went through.
And try number 4 for the Kiwis.
Here it comes. Good ball by Dane. Dane slipped the ball in the tackle to Clayton. Trying to knock him.
Clayton Friend, despite one hand being held, managed to get it up and away. And the signal from both Dane O'Hara and Hugh McGann to Kurt Sorensen to go as close as possible to make the conversion easier, which may have as much to do with Olsen's sponsorship as the extra points that don't terribly matter at this stage. Olsen Filipino, relatively kickable.
By Frank Foley.
That one's over, 22. A somewhat disillusioned crowd here, already starting to leave the stadium. Certainly no leavers in the New Zealand touring party contingent. They've come from all over New Zealand, and about half of the touring parties that were in England have continued to tour in France. All of them enjoying it.
Yeah, they've been tremendous.
They provided a great deal of vocal and moral support, and in a lot of cases have been staying at the same hotels as the Kiwi players. Brent Todd. That's it. That's the end of the game. 22-10, 4 tries to 0, 2 in the first half, 2 in the second half. The first point coming from a penalty for Olsen Filipina. Hugh McGann with 1 try midway through the second half, another one about 10 minutes later in almost the same place. So 2 tries to Hugh McGann in the first half, and it was 10-0 at half-time. In the second half, a try to Gary Kemble, and as things started to open up a little for them, a try to Kurt Sorensen, making it 20, with the conversion by Olsen Filipina making it 22. A very, very scrappy game, one that never really got going. And now, for the last match of the tour, the haka from the Kiwi side.
pretty lead in the haka there. Last tip for New Zealand.
Well, you didn't see a great deal of it, of course, because it was being done for the New Zealand supporters on the other side of the park to where the cameras are. But Howie Tamati, a very, very scrappy game and one that really never got going.
Yes, quite disappointing game, Bob. The result for me was, very good, but quite a disappointing game to watch, I thought. But, you can only just go along with it.
Perhaps we expected a little too much for the final match on this tour. They had excellent games in England, and they have had some excellent games in France, most of which we haven't seen because they haven't been televised. But the other matches that have been played in France have seen some incredible experience in some of the older players and some very, very good talent on the way through in some of the younger players.
Yeah, the future of New Zealand Rugby League looks really good. Some of the young players coming on, like Adrian Shelford, Brent Todd, Mark Elia. It's been a long, hard tour. I think we've been undefeated in France and only lost 2 or 3 games in England, so I think it's been one of the most successful teams ever, so it has been a great tour, especially for me anyway.
Of course, from today's match, they not only win the series against France, but take more World Cup points as well. My player overall in this series, I think, would have to go to Dean Bell, who has played consistently classy football throughout. A number of other players up on the way, and it's a very hard decision to make, but certainly he would take my vote. And as we leave you and go back to New Zealand, this New Zealand Kiwi touring party have finished their tour. Today's last game. A nice way to end it on a victorious note. Rather a shame that it couldn't have been in perhaps more elegant style. But they've won the series, they've won their World Cup points. The final score, 22-0 over France here at Perpignan. And we return you to the studio in Keith Quinn.